Hi everybody, it's Karen again from Avalon Pathways, continuing the conversations we've been having about connection and belonging, which are the pathways, in my view, back to Avalon, to the New Earth paradigm, and to our birthright as magical, powerful beings who are loved and loving and living a life of authenticity and meaning. So in this light, I've been having conversations with people who are working in that realm in all different ways, in the way that they're helping others to connect to themselves, their heart, their magic, their community, or to the earth, all of which are topics that are really dear to my heart. So today I'm talking to my friend Pippa, who is a woman that really inspires me with her depth of connection to the earth, to place, to the village, to the self, and is a person who is genuinely living what looks like a really authentic and meaningful life. And she's going to talk a little bit about that and what that all means for her today and how that might support others.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you for the beautiful words as well. So I live in the beautiful community of Bellingen. I've been living here for the last 2.5 years. I moved from Victoria and I came to find village and community and to integrate into a more like-minded community, which I found is really important when you're raising children. There's many people that come here when they're not raising children as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that when you're finding community, it has to be like a family orientated situation. There's many walks of life that come through here, and that's what makes this community so beautiful, is the diversity of it. It's not one category, it's just people coming to be connected and held and be in a wholesome environment that understands the intrinsic needs that it takes to create a really held community.
And you do quite a diverse range of work, because you work with the body and you work with supporting other parents and you work with supporting the community, and you've done quite a bit in terms of building community quite consciously yourself, not just kind of joining a community, but actually community building and supporting others. So would you like to talk about that a little? Your somatic work.
So what that looks like is, there's an element coming from obviously a professional space where I do my work, which is massage, and it's very somatic focused. So I'm training in what's called internal body tracking, which is a really, really beautiful integrative therapy, which allows you to go through your felt experience and move through static emotions and energy that are stuck in the body. That's just one area. I've got my fingers in a few pies. I'm also involved in women's work, Red Tent, which happens here in Bellingen once a month, and that's branched off into creating the Goddess Temple, which is going to be expanded here. And there's a beautiful woman that is also that is actually leading that movement. So that's really exciting. I'm also just sorry, I just got a message through then, so it just threw me off a little bit. So that's kind of happening that side. There's there's lots of collaboration happening at the moment, which is not so solidified, so I won't share that just yet. But then there's the other side, which is what it takes to build and weave a community that you won't necessarily get paid for, right? So you have to you kind of have to show up where you're needed also. without that expectation of payment. And it's kind of like this fine balance and dance between you know, reserving your own energy and having that time for self-care, raising a family, bringing in the work, which I mean I love doing, that energizes me also. You know, it's you know, stepping into my life's purpose and my gifts that I'm here to share within the community also. It's not just this job that I'm doing only for, you know, financial gain, but yeah, showing up for the mothers in the community and the parents in the community. And that is actually a really deep passion of mine, and that's kind of what I really want to focus on, is bringing that energy and that acknowledgement that it does take a village to raise children, and that mothers are not machines, and that we do, especially in the first years of having a child and having a baby, you do need to be held, because you're so grounded and so rooted to the baby's needs on every level that you don't actually have that expansion to step outside of that role and do all these external things that life is calling you to do in the society that's been created. So this community, what I love about it is, and it's still an ongoing movement, because we're essentially breaking down a huge paradigm of like a patriarchal system, right? That just is so yang driven that it doesn't have that space and that time for that yin to be cultivated or acknowledged. And that's essential for us to replenish our energy and actually thrive in life. And that's what is essential for mothers to go through that gestation period postpartum to having a baby. So that's kind of like where my focus is being drawn towards, is to really nurture that.
It sounds really beautiful, and it is very much about, we're moving from one way of doing things, which, you know, had some benefits, but is clearly not serving quite a lot of people, and not serving children, and not serving these mothers who are having to be very yang and exhausted, and taking them very much into the new way of being, or the new ancient way of being, really, because women used to be, or families used to be, far more supported. And so when you are creating this new old way of doing things, what do you notice happens in the community? What have you witnessed?
Yeah, so it's been beautiful to watch the transition in the community and in myself. So as a mother, having raised 2 children not in a village, so this is what has been my catalyst to shift my trajectory and really encompass what the world needs and what mothers really need. You know, like the mothers are the foundational like life bearers. You know, they nurture the children, the next generation, and it's at that foundational point in a baby's time which it really creates that essence. And if that essence is disrupted, and you know, that they're not getting enough energy from the village, then everyone's going to grow up, you know, like in imbalance, traumatized, and it's just going to keep these perpetuating cycles happening throughout life. So it's just like it's just really not acknowledged the depth of importance that it is to nurture the mother and the parents, so they can really hold that space for the baby to, you know, to grow and to develop in love. Yeah, so yeah, I would say.
So it is this thing about it's this thing, and we know we need to value the mothers, but there's a thing, one of my friends has said that, you know, mothers and parents generally, that children need all the support their parents can get. And so we're actually nurturing the children. By nurturing the mother, we're doing that, but we're also, this is about the new earth and the next generation that we're bringing through. And I'm certainly seeing, you know, when I see your children, who are just delights, the difference in their creativity and their true selves, is something that you might speak to as well. Like it's quite delightful seeing children growing a little bit more untethered, a little bit more naturally and organic, and if their mother is supported or their parents are supported, what that means for the children, I think would be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's something, yeah, I'd love to talk about and share as well, is not only is just giving to the mothers. I mean, there's a beautiful thing, I don't know if anyone's heard it, but I just want to share, there's a beautiful app out there called Meal Train, and I'm sure many of you heard it, and it's not just for mothers postpartum, it can be for people that have, you know, sick or have come out of hospital or just need that, have had an accident or something. So it's a meal train, and it's like this volunteer calendar app where you put in you know, your day and time of when you're going to deliver a meal to the house. So that's been a really great asset to have for mothers postpartum, and I love that. But yeah, so what I do want to share is not only the giving, but the ability for mothers to receive. So this is a huge journey that I've personally been on as well, is the inability to receive. So that's been a whole breaking down so many layers of boundaries and stepping into trust and stepping into self-love, enough for me to kind of like stop this holding and relax and hand some responsibility over, right? Because we're all brought up in this real nuclear situation, the mother and the father. I mean, look at the previous generation, you know, we've come so far in such a short time, which is so magical to see. But there is so many layers of conditioning that we need to shed in order to allow ourselves to receive, right? So, it does mean breaking down these, you know, these layers and actually allowing us to hand over some responsibility. And that's why I was drawn to be in a like-minded community, because it can be hard to hand over the responsibility of your children with people that have got such different beliefs to you around how to raise children and parenting styles. And you know, like everyone's going to have different parenting styles and different beliefs, but when it's so vastly far apart, you just feel like you have to carry everything yourself. So when you step into a community or a like-minded village, then it's kind of like this free-flowing reciprocal you know, this free-flowing reciprocal, you know, dance that happens between the community members. And yeah, it just takes a lot to be able to step into that, unravel yourself enough so you can enter that dance with everyone. So that's been quite a big journey. So I just wanted to kind of bring notice and acknowledgement to that part as well.
Because it's huge. There's almost been this programming around hyper independence, and I can do it all myself, and we're seeing that hasn't worked. And in the past, this kind of nuclear family of mum, dad and two children is actually a fairly modern process. Previously we had more grandparents around and aunties and uncles, and you know, and we're in the village. But now with geographic mobility and these kind of small households, a lot of people are really missing their village. And we were talking before about how you don't live in the country of your birth, and so your family, your mother, is your parents that may have been much more a part of your village are halfway around the world. And so you've created that here. It's not always about our blood families, although that can be really beautiful and amazing too. But sometimes your village and your family is what you've been creating where you live now. And that's been quite a shift in thinking and a shift in the way we are being in the world.
Yeah. It's been huge. So just kind of anchoring that in, so you don't necessarily have to move anywhere specific to create that village. You can do it right from home. It's just about taking that chance to reach out, and just creating that acknowledgement around supporting the mother postpartum, because for a mother to reach out when she's got a newborn baby is so hard. She's not reaching out. She's within, like she's in gestation. She needs other people to hold her awareness for other things that need to be done. For example, the laundry, the dishes, paying bills, getting on the internet, making phone calls. In those first few months, even the first year, it's actually taken me, when my son turned 4, that's when my energy really kind of like started to enter truly into my body, and I got my yang back. It takes that long. And we're in a society that tells us, babies can go to daycare from 6 weeks old, and you can stop breastfeeding when the baby's 12 months, and the mother can get back to work when the baby's 6 weeks old. And there's absolutely no judgment to those that want to pursue that path. I'm just trying to take some awareness to the expectation of and the lack of acknowledgement and importance of that postpartum period, which actually takes a lot longer than most people are actually aware of. And I didn't have any awareness of it. When I had my first baby, I had absolutely no awareness of what it took.
I didn't either. I had 2 children and I had no awareness of what it was going to be and what it was going to involve. So, it was like, oh, well, you do this, and you can go back to university or teaching or work or whatever it is. And it's been part of the programming. So we're shifting into reflecting on that and actually going, well, is this really what we want? And is this really good? And is this really working for mothers, for fathers, for the children? And, it's clear that for some people, perhaps it is. And again, no judgment. And if you're making it work, that's great. But for a lot of parents and a lot of people, it's not been working. And you're bringing a new awareness and a new old, as we keep saying, because a lot of it is not necessarily all that new, that kind of connection with children. And I really like that you've actually given some tips on, like, if someone in your community, so if someone was listening to this and they were aware of a new mother in their area, that they don't even know that well, what might they do as kind of just a little step towards creating that village or creating support for that new mother?
Food on the doorstep, coming over, and when you come and see the baby, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, getting involved in that housework. And the mother may be completely new to this and almost feel a little bit alien to accepting that support. I know I did. And when I had my first baby, I actually had, energy, and I was okay to step into that. But the second baby, that's when I really needed that village, and yeah, look, everyone's births and pregnancies are different, and everyone's, what it brings to the surface, it's so individual. But yeah, that's kind of one of the basic things that you can do, is just see where the mother needs help, and if she's not even asking for it, just getting in there and doing the dishes, because you could ask her and she might say no because she feels sorry, guys, just started to do the mowing right here in the park.
It's not too bad.
Which is fun.
It's probably more distracting for you than it is for us. So, and if it is someone that you do know quite well, then bringing it back to your other work, your somatic work and whatever, is perhaps offering them a voucher to go and have a session with someone like you, doing the somatic work, the massage, the kind of self-care. And, one thought I had was, so you talk about your work in a minute as we wrap this up, is if a mother is a little bit uncertain about leaving her child, can you spare an hour or two to sit in a waiting room with the child just outside, while they're having a massage or doing somatic work with you, or another person, someone that you give the mother a little bit of space and a bit of self-care. And it sounds like the other work you're doing, your massage and body work, is something that's very nurturing for mothers whose bodies are under a fair bit of pressure while they're pregnant and feeding and raising small children.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. So on so many levels, the woman, obviously, it takes a lot of nutrients and minerals to create a human, and then go through the birthing process. And then I think a doula told me that it takes 4 years for the mother to get the nutrients, minerals lost that it takes to create a child. So just on that level, and energetically, we're so connected to our children. We actually share the same energetic field as our children until the age of 7. So you can imagine, the baby's growing in your womb, it's so connected. And then the baby comes out of the womb and then goes onto the chest. And then the baby stays. Sorry,
right,
just lost
you're back. You're back.
And the baby stays on the chest, until it's old enough to kind of start moving, and then starts crawling. It's this real slow process, womb side to earth side. And that transition needs to be really honored, and it needs to be gentle, and it needs to be held. So the mother really is rooted to such such a foundational point. And then as the baby gets older, the energy field starts to stretch, and so this is why separation too quickly and too far away from the mother at too long periods of time can cause issues with the baby. So on that level, the mother goes through quite a lot. So the work that I do, the internal body tracking, it allows the mother or person. I'm not doing this just for mothers. They go into their own process, into their felt experience, and we transverse their inner landscape and just get to know what's there. So all the layers of resources, defense, shadow content, and it allows that to be reintegrated back into their system. So they're not you know, living a life of disassociation or soul fragmentation. Yeah, so it's a really powerful modality. I feel very blessed to be learning it, and I do see how that it would, you know, benefit mothers to come back into themselves, to come back into their body, because, you know, when you're a parent, you just have to let go of all those distractions and, or, you know, all those things that that you would normally go to when you had an uncomfortable feeling. You know, I've got an uncomfortable feeling now. I'm going to go catch up with my friends, or I'm going to go to a party, or I'm going to watch a movie. You know, you have to be just so present with everything that's coming up for you. And I just think that this allows that space to process it in a healthy way. So it's not yeah, so it's being facilitated and guided.
So good for mum, good for dad, good for anybody. And in that case, if it's good for the family, it's good for the children. And then later on, good for the village, because their children become quite connected to the village and become important, or not important, but, you know, valuable contributing members of that same village. So it's really beautiful talking to you, and there's so much we could talk about. But how would people find you if they wanted to work with you, or have a session with you, or any of the other things to connect with you? How would we do that?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm just doing person in person. So like I said, I'm residing in Bellingen. I'll be offering online sessions at some point in the future. That's not in process right now, but if they wanted to find me, I can give, is there a link I can
put a link in you? Yeah, put your Facebook links and whatever other links you've got in below. You know, after we post this up on YouTube, then you can just add those links in there.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right then. Been lovely talking. Thank
you so much.
It's really lovely seeing the village, seeing that you're in nature. It's all behind you.
Oh yeah, I'll just give you a quick view of where I am. Hold on.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, you're down near the river.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Thank you, Pippa.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Okay,
bye.